This is Rock Leach with SocialFire. Okay, y'all, Mahoganee's finally giving her side of the story. And you know, you don't want to miss what's going on. She talked about a lot of things, and we're going to get into some specific things that she talked about that gives us a lot of clarity. Y'all, she dropped a lot of bombs in here because there were a lot of things that we didn't know with this story from the Viral Rebuke. She gave us what happened right before they got on stage, y'all, and it's a lot worse than many of us think. Even let us know something, because we had some questions over here, a lot of questions, and she brought those up and gave clarity to it. You don't want to miss this video.
Social fire, we don't play. Rock Leach bringing the heat all day. Faith on fire, no mask, no leash. Fire in his voice, yeah, I rock.
He the voice for the ones that the church forgot. He bring truth to the light, whether liked or not.
All right, let's get straight on into it, you all. Before I do, I want to do this right here. If you all would pray for my wife, Jess, pray for her husband. I'm not her husband, I'm her husband, but pray for her father. Her father, went through something and had a little fall there. And, whenever you have someone who's been your superhero for most of your life, it can be a little challenging, So pray for my wife, Jess, and her brother, Henry. The father's name is Henry. All right. Just want to put that prayer request out there to the community. Just because I'm doing content, you all, doesn't mean I don't need prayer. As a matter of fact, pray for me as well. And so let's go ahead and get into this content right here. So Mahoganee did an interview, you all. She did the interview on Larry Reid Live. Now, I want to go ahead and address this before we even get into the video, you all. Miss me with the comments, because I know they coming, because I don't agree with everything that a Larry Reid Live does. He believes in a lot of new age things. He says he believes in a lot of theology that I wouldn't even call it theology. He have a lot of beliefs that are not biblical. He speaks to the dead. Even during the interview, I was concerned because we like Mahoganee. Mahoganee is winning. But even in the interview, it looked like he was going to give her a psychic reading there for a minute with horoscopes and all that old foolishness. And I love how she graciously moved the conversation on to something else. But, Larry Reid believe in a lot of things, energy and this metaphysical thing that he talks about, vibrations and all of that. That's the devil. That's demonic. That's exactly what that is. And so I don't agree with him, but she did get a chance to tell her side of the story. Now, I know many of you all are going to say, well, if you go to this platform, you're saved. If you go over here, you're not saved. No, I don't want you to do that. I'm glad that she got her story out. She may have just chose the platform that had, the most people. Larry Reid has a big platform over there. And that may have been because she may have said, well, let me say it over here because I only want to say it one time and I want to move on with my life. And so that may have been why she chose. So I don't want people getting into, well, Larry Reid, that ain't, of God or whatever. I understand. I don't agree with what he does. I'm only doing this because that Mahoganee is over there. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. First thing that she talked about that we want to get into, because there's three things that I mainly want to get into, is this one right here. How did your husband feel about what happened, y'all? I gotta go and talk about that. How did her husband feel about what happened? Let's go.
A lot of people have been saying that, they've been asking, man, what did your husband think? What did he do? Did he want to, whoop up on him or whatever?
He did.
I mean, he did, but, to be honest with you, Larry, I flew out the door so fast, he had to practically run to catch up with me, so.
Oh, wow. I can't wait to find out more about it.
Listen, I knew, and we have to say that this man here, she has a good husband, because I can't say he would have been bad if he'd have said something. But I said that on the video. I wouldn't have said anything until the bishop decides to defend his wife and her wrong. Then, sir, I've got to address you publicly for what you're doing. I would have waited because it's woman to woman. My wife's name is Jess. I was going to wait. I was going to follow Jess' lead in that. I'm going to be looking like Jess. All right, whatever your move is. What's your move? Because that's her move there. I'm not going to interfere when it's that. But when the husband, the man, stands up to defend his wife, I got to say something. The whole church finna hear this word that I'm not going to cuss, but I'm finna let him know, no, sir. I will not sit here silent while your wife did that to my wife, and then you defend your wife for her unbiblical actions. And so the husband was there and her children. And y'all, I'm going to go ahead and say this. Let me say this for the record, y'all. You can do, as a pastor, I know that you can be rude to a man behind closed doors. You can be rude to a husband behind closed doors. But if you get him in front of his wife and you talk crazy if you want to, y'all, real pastors know what I'm talking about. You got to be careful. First ladies, you got to understand, you can say what you're going to say to a lady, but you get her in front of her family and try to clown like that if you want to. It's just not what you do. It's not what you do. And so that was one of the concerns that I had, because I know me. And guess what? I'd have had words with the pastor, wouldn't have went off like that, but he'd have definitely knew that there was a problem. And this is in Houston, so it would have been definitely Houston, we got a problem. So I'm glad that she addressed that. The husband was there, but he didn't have time to address it because he left out and he went out with her. So probably when the pastor got up to address it, because I wish he'd have corrected his wife, we wouldn't have this whole problem. But when he got up to stand up for his wife, Mahoganee and her husband were gone. They weren't there. And so in that instance, knowing that information because of what she said, because he left out the door after her and, had the kids and left out the door. And so because of that, he wasn't in there. And now thinking about that, I wouldn't have been in there either, because I'd have been out there, but I'd have came back. I'm just saying, I'd have went out there and be like, you all right? Or text and be like, or called and be like, you all right? But then we'd had to circle back around and have words. I'm just saying. But let's get to the next part of this, which was this part right here. When did the conversation with First Lady Pope happen? That was the question that he asked. And when did that conversation happen, y'all? And there were a lot of things that came out of asking that question about when did the conversation with First Lady Pope happen. And then we get into what did she say to you that was out the way, because Mahoganee said that she said something that was out of the way. And then, about her turning her nose up and all that kind of stuff. Y'all, we want to get into all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and get to that part there. Let's go.
Minutes before the video that y'all saw. So just to, preface this by saying, by the time that conversation happened, the previous Sunday, I had given my resignation. So I had given my resignation, and she approached me to talk about something else, and I was getting ready to go minister, so I was kind of in a rush. She said something that was kind of out of the way to me, but I wasn't really interested.
Now, he's going to ask her, what did she say that was out of the way? Go ahead.
In talking about it. So,
well, what was it she said to you out of the way?
Well, Larry,
this is what we want to get to right here. Come on.
I guess I might as well spill the tea.
Come on, spill it.
So she asked me if I looked at her and turned my nose up.
Okay, y'all, I got to bring this. I'm going to let it play. But she asked her, did she look at her and turn her nose up? Come on.
So she felt as though you had looked at her and turned your nose up?
Yes.
Was that true?
No.
So what was it that you did that she possibly mistook?
So this is what happened. I was in the conference room where we typically hang out before we go up to minister. That's kind of when we pray, consecrate, and just get our minds and heart ready for worship, right? So everyone else had already gone out, and I was the last one hanging behind. I was just putting some things away in my purse. The door was open, so I heard footsteps going by. I turned around, and it was her walking by. I went back to what I was doing. And that's when she walked into the conference room and asked me that question. And I was taken aback, because I was like, well, why would you ask me that? So of course I said no. I wasn't really, I just saw that it was her, and I went back to what I was doing, because I was, getting ready to go and minister. I had to get up there quickly. So then she said, oh, okay. She went in for a hug. I wasn't really feeling it because of what she just said. And then she says, oh, that's okay. We can talk about it later. By that point, I just felt like the conversation would have been unproductive. So I just declined to talk about it. And then that's when she asked me, when was my last Sunday? And I told her that it was the following Sunday, which would have been this past Sunday. So after she confirmed that information, we walked out of the conference room together. And then we went on stage together. And then you saw what happened in the video.
Okay, so basically, because that's what all happened in a nutshell right there. So she looked at Mahogany and said, you looked at me with your nose up. Did you do that? You know, was you? And Mahogany was like, no, this woman, the first lady, already had it out for Mahogany, y'all, looks like. She already had it out for her. She came in and asked her, did she have her nose up? And then, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And Mahogany said she had already put her resignation in. So I don't know, for her to be given this kind of energy, this kind of attention to someone who's on their way out the door. And here's the thing. If she already in her mind viewed that she had her nose up at her, what else was she seeing? See, this is when demons get a hold to you, they get in your mind and force you to see things, cause you to see things that's really not there. You know, Mahogany was moving on, and you know, it's gonna get into a lot of other things, but because I'm not gonna do his entire video. Go over to Larry Reid, you can go watch the whole video. But what happened is that this was all because she put her notice in because she said the whole praise team was getting paid. Everybody on the praise team, all singers. Now, I've already done the video explaining about pay in churches, even in the Houston area, and how that generally goes, and in DFW area as well. Y'all, it's not uncommon. Let's go ahead and say, I know some people are going to be like, well, I don't never heard of that. No, it happens, and this is not this is not unusual. And so she said they were all getting paid. And so what the church did, Macedonia did, was that they cut all the praise team's pay and said, we're going to still pay Mahogany. Now, Mahogany didn't like that for her team. She didn't like that for her team. So she went ahead and put her notice in. And I'm just doing this because I don't want to go ahead and play that whole video aspect. But she put her notice in because they were going to still pay her. But after they had cut all the team's pay, right? So this was already kind of going on. And she was like, no, I'm not going to do that to them and still be getting paid while they, you know, done got cut. And even though their pay had gotten cut, they were still up there. We saw them still up there. But Mahogany had already put her notice in, 2 weeks notice. She even admitted in there because she already has a job. So it wasn't about the money from, you know, what she was getting, because she already has a career. And y'all, that's what happened. But I want to get into what this whole, he asked an important question here, what this whole ordeal has done for her. Like when I say, she said, like, what was her conversation? What was the conversation that she had with God? What do you think? That's what I want to get into, because that's something that actually happened here. You know, what was your conversation with God after that experience? That's personal, and I want to get into that right there. Let's go.
Do you or did you approach your altar after that experience? What was the conversation between you, God, and yourself?
Oh, Lord. I think the main thing I said after I cried in the car was, why? Why me? And why like that? Why so publicly for all the world to see, you know?
They have the pastors.
And that's a good thing. That why public for the whole world to see. Y'all, you never know. We have to understand that we never know how God is doing what he's doing. Those were legitimate questions. He's going to ask her now, had the pastors them even reached out to you since this has happened? Go ahead.
Reached out to you?
Haven't heard
Wait a
from
minute.
them.
Wait. You not telling me they ain't send a text, an email to say I'm sorry?
I haven't
Okay.
heard from them.
Now at this point,
All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and pause it there because Larry goes on a tangent about, basically cursing the church and all kind of stuff like that. You all, this was a great interview. I wanted to know what her position was, what actually happened. And this fills in all of the gaps. I really wanted to know whether her husband was there or not, because I see on all of her social medias, you see her husband there. They got a happy family doing things. And also, I want to bring up something else, too, and also apologize to our community because we had to remove a video. We released a video that was centered around a woman who the internet had labeled as Mahogany's sister. Now, that lady wasn't mentioned nowhere in this video. And I'm gonna tell you this, Mahoganee gave shout outs to certain people and stuff like that that were close to her. She didn't mention this girl that said she was a sister going off with the wine glass and stuff like that. She never mentioned her. I'm not even gonna call the girl name out. But we removed that video, because the only reason that we addressed it was because of the label of her being the sister. But, after further review, we discovered that she's not a sister at all. And, at least not by blood. At least not by blood, she's not a sister. And certainly not in the way it was presented. It just wasn't good. And so it looks like that young lady was just somebody who inserted herself in the conversation. And she shouldn't have did that. And so I do want to make that clearly done there. In this video, she did give her Cash App out. Please, if you want to sow into her, please sow into her. She said there's been so much gratitude coming her way, people giving to her and stuff like that, that it caused her to have some problems on the Cash App. So y'all go read that. Y'all go look at that and stuff like that. But I want you to continue to give. It's on her Facebook as well, her Cash App as well. But y'all be careful with these Cash Apps and stuff because she's got a PayPal as well. I just prefer PayPal. I don't trust Cash App because it don't many times have, if it don't have customer service, I don't deal with, these giving services that don't have customer service. I got to talk to a real person. I don't want to be something messed up. I got to send emails. I don't want to do that. And so that's just me. That's just rock. And so I'm so grateful for that she's winning, so grateful that everything is happening positive here. And God is saying so much out of this story. He's saying so much out of this story. So let's keep her in our prayers. And we're going to continue to update you whenever things are happening because we want Mahoganee to win. God is doing so much for her and we want her to win. This public humiliation to divine exaltation. Y'all, that's actually a sermon. Preachers, I just gave you some. I just gave you something. Public humiliation I done forgot what I said now, something about elevation. That came from the spirit. I got to rewind the video and see what I said. But anyway, I want you to meet me in the comments, you all. I really, really want to talk about this. I want to get in there and talk about this. Meet me in the comments and let's talk about it. Let's go.
SocialFire, we don't play. Rock leech bringing the heat all day. Faith on fire, no mask, no leash. Fire in his voice, yeah, I rock.
He the voice for